Hi, I'm Angie Maserati, singer, songwriter, performer, and poet. Here to share with you a piece of my heart today, a poem called Empowered. It actually started out as a completely different song, poem, but I have grown so much and it wasn't my story anymore. And so I've changed it to be much more empowering. It actually went from, if you don't love me, let me go. But you can just set yourself free. You must set yourself free. You are the only one who can set yourself free. And here it is. I hope you like it. If you don't love me, I must go. I have grown, and now I know. I can walk myself out the door too many times with my head in my hands and my heart on the floor, crying tears of fire with my broken heart, the fears, the liars. Blinded by desire, but now I see that most of all I needed was to love me. I let you rock me. I lost my focus. I got lost in your wizardry ways, a fool in the hocus pocus. Magical fairy tale land, a castle only made of sand. A price too high, I wasted too much time, never really mine. You're in, you're out, I'm losing my mind. But I'll keep my soul, because it's growing cold. And I know the answers, and I'm through with denial. I don't want to hurt and cry. I miss my smile. I don't want to feel down. I want to rise up. Is this even love? Enough is enough. I need to be where the light lives. I need to feel hope in the air. I need to find myself on the other side of pain. No more despair. It's time to look in the mirror and see the girl full of hopes and dreams, wild, free. It's time to remember me. Me before you, when love and laughter was all I knew. The good with the bad, but there's got to be more happy and sad. Time to set me free. You told me you always get what you want, but not this time. I needed this moment to clear my mind and to get it together, regroup. I will be free, no longer stuck in the loop. I'm stronger than before, and never again will you walk through my door. If you don't love me, I must go. Oh, how I've grown, and now I know I can walk myself out the door. Too many times, my head in my hands and my heart on the floor, crying. Tears of fire, broken hearts, fears, liars. Blinded by desire, but now I see. Most of all, I need to love me. Thank you for letting me be a part of the book fair. Thank you to Relatable Voice magazine for helping me get my relatable voice out there. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Uncut with Lucia. I'm Lucia Matuonto and welcome to the RV Book Fair 2023. This is our second book fair and we have many talented authors to introduce you during this event. First, I would like to introduce you to my co-host for this event, Pat Backley. Pat is the author of 7 books and is one of the authors featured in the anthology Relatable Voice. So thank you, Pat, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Lucia, and thank you for inviting me to co-host again. I had such fun last year, so I'm really looking forward to this year and meeting lots more lovely authors. So thank you very much.
Thank you, my pleasure. And also today we are meeting with amazing book authors to discuss love and inspiration. Their books are all quite different, but they have some similarities in common.
And today our first guest is Antonia Gavrihel. Forgive me if I haven't pronounced that correctly.
No, that's perfect.
Okay. Antonia is the author of the book series Back to One. Welcome, Antonia.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Last but certainly not least, we have Kim Lengling. Again, apologies if my pronunciation isn't good. Kim is the author of several books. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here and to meet everybody.
Thank you. Okay, now, Lucia, before we continue, I think we should just introduce you. I'm sure you ladies already know, but our audience may not, that Lucia is the author of the Zoe the Crab children's book series, and her latest book, Out of the Box, which incidentally has just won a big award. She's also the host and creator of the Relatable Voice podcast. So welcome, Lucia, to your own show.
You for introducing me. Thank you. And Pat, would you like also to talk to us a little bit about you?
Oh, not really. No, I feel that it is not me, but okay. Well, I started you can probably tell by my accent, I'm English, but I now live in New Zealand. So for me, it's tomorrow, which is pretty exciting. And I can tell you tomorrow is great, but it's pouring with rain, and obviously the world news is ghastly, so we won't even talk about tomorrow. But yes, I've written 7 books. I've only been writing for almost 3 years now, and now I've started, I can't stop. So I'm delighted to share my time with lots of lovely authors. So thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you. So let's get right into it. So I will start with Antonia.
Yes.
Yes, your book is called Back to One, correct?
Yes. Back to One. That's the book. That's the first in the series, the original book. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I remember last year we were here talking about your first book, and actually you've just published the 3rd book of this series.
Yes, and the 4th book comes out in April of next year. It's a series of 6 books altogether, and I just began writing it as a standalone book. It was my publisher who fell in love with my 2 main characters and persuaded me to actually do a series of books on their life.
Antonia, before we continue, can I just say I love the fact that your background matches your book. That's so stylish.
Thank you.
Very stylish. I'm very impressed. Right. Now, Kim, can we talk about about your books, When Grace Found Me and When Hope Found Me? Can you tell us a bit more about these books, please?
Yeah, the When Grace Found Me, that's a 3-book series that myself and a beautiful lady that I met from England in the beginning of the pandemic, actually, we went online it's kind of like an online networking type thing for authors. And her and I connected, and she just happened to have started her own small publishing house. And you know how things happen. You know, we just connected, and I told her I had this idea in my head for a book. And she said, you know, I'm starting a publishing business. And I said, well, hey, what a perfect connection that was. So we chatted about it and became very good friends. We're still very good friends, you know, all these years later, which is it's so cool how things happen like that and those connections. The pandemic was awful for many people. I certainly don't ever want to downplay it, but there were so many amazing things that happened throughout it as well. And that the connections that I made personally were one of them. So her and I decided to bring some people together. It's an anthology, and do 1 book. And we had enough ladies. We had 20 ladies from around the globe, and they all, you know, were excited. But then more people kept asking, hey, is there room? Is there room? Is there room? And I thought, well, okay, let's do a second one then. We'll just plan on doing a second. But then the people just we kept getting emails and private messages. And Ruth, her name is Ruth, and we both said, okay, I guess this is looking like it's going to be a 3-book series. It had never been planned that, but it turned into a 3-book series, and all were put together, and published within a year. It was a very, very busy year, but we all needed something to do because we were in lockdown anyway. So it kept us very busy and humbled. It actually kept us, at least me personally, kept me quite humbled, meeting the women from all over and all their circumstances and why they wanted to write their stories. And When Hope Found Me was released last November. And that was another anthology where I just reached out to a few people, and the same thing, you know, they're sharing their stories of hope. When hope found them, like if they were in a dark spot, they're in the bottom of that barrel and they forgot to look up to see that there was a pinprick of light up there. this book is stories such as that, where you find yourself on the bottom of the barrel, you're on your knees and you're forgetting to look up, and then someone comes along, that little spark of hope, their little nugget of hope that they toss your way, and you remember, I can look up because there's always up. So that's how those books came about.
So inspiring. It's just wonderful. And like you, I don't like to talk about lockdown being a good time, but I think for a lot of us it actually was, because it gave us time to stop, to reflect, and to do things for us, rather than, we're all so busy rushing around taking care of everyone else. And I think probably for all of us here, if we're truly honest, it actually was quite good for us. And it meant that we met lots of new people. I mean, I would never have met any of you ladies if it hadn't been for lockdown, because I would never have started writing a book. So yeah, and like you, I've also contributed to anthologies, which is great because you kind of make new friends instantly, don't you? You suddenly got all the people. Like I was lucky enough to write some stories in Lucia's anthology, and I've done a couple of others, and I'm doing some charity ones. And yeah, it's almost like you're giving something back. So I'm fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, Kim. That's
Actually,
great.
I have a question for Kim before we continue. How many authors did you have in your anthology? I mean, let's say the last book.
In the When Hope Found Me, that I think there was 12. I think there was 12 ladies. And in my most recent one, Paw Prints on the Couch, there are 10 people. This is an anthology as well. People sharing their inspiring stories of their pets and their rescue pets, and how they have maybe just saved them. They're saving pets, but at times, and I don't know how you all feel, but for me, I've had a few dogs and they've all been rescue dogs, and each one of them have rescued me in some form or fashion. So they just become such a big part of your life. So in that one, there's 10. And When Hope Found Me, believe there's 12. And in the When Grace Found Me series, each book has 20 in those.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's kind of challenging, but we can talk about it later. And now I would like to just talk about inspiration. We authors, we need to be inspired all the time to be able to write some stories or short stories or the whole book. So, Pat, would you like to start?
Yes, of course, I'd love to. Inspiration. Antonia, can you just tell us what inspired you to write your book, and about your subjects?
Okay. I always hate to say this, but it's so true. Loneliness is what inspired me to write Back to One. The other two books are inspired in a whole different way, because they came from the positive reinforcements that I received from the first book. That's what inspired the other two. But when you are a mom and my then husband was on the road quite a bit and he was gone, loneliness kicks in, because I was taking care of a 2-3-year-old son and going to work every day, coming home from work. We would play, I would feed him, bathe him, put him to bed, and then I would look at the walls and I would say, there's got to be more to life than this. And that's when I wrote The Perfect Friendship. And that's what Back to One is based on, is this whole idea that this celebrity who should be surrounded by many, many people is a very lonely man. And he meets a little housewife who has a small child. Isn't that kind of familiar? And they become the deepest of friends, the truest of friends. And because he has a tabloid reputation, nobody believes that they're just friends. But they are, and it's an inspiring friendship that helps them build character within themselves. It makes them better people knowing each other. And I think that's true of all of our friends. So that's really the inspiration of that book.
That's so exciting. It's so exciting. Yeah. And I think they always say you should write about what you know. And
Yes.
Because it makes it more real, doesn't it? You can actually write down, because you can visualize it in your head.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Kim, how about you? What inspires you? I mean, you've told us a little bit, but
A lot of what inspires me are other people, just people that I've met, their circumstances that they might be in at the time. I I love to meet new people and hear their stories. So I don't write about everybody I know, but my goodness, what a book that would be if I did. um, but people inspire me. Circumstances that I've went through, and if I meet people that I can empathize with, that I can connect with on some level, or maybe they're going through something, it seems to be that the tough stuff, going through those really bumpy parts of life, which we all go through, and knowing that you've come out the other end, even though you're thinking at the time, am I ever going to get through this? Oh my gosh, I don't think I can. I don't know if I can. But then you do. And then you can look back and say, wow, look at me go. I'm a rock star. I just came through all of that. I just came through all of that crapola, and I came out better. And if you can look yourself in the mirror and say, and I'm even stronger because of it, and don't let it drag you down. Don't let all the negativity drag you down. But you can look back at it and say, all right, I saw the stepping stones. I can see why that path was laid out the way it was, because now here I am on the other side of it, better and stronger. And I recognize it in other people now. And now they inspire me. And oh my goodness, I think I need to share their stories. Maybe I need to sprinkle some of mine in there too, because someone is sitting out there waiting for that little spark. And it just might be your story.
I love it.
Mhm.
I love it. And I love the fact that you've been inspired, both of you, by people and also by animals in your case, Kim. And so I think we have a lot of stories to tell, because just you go for a walk and you see many people and people talking about different things. Is just amazing. And as Antonia also was telling us, her book is all about love. So I see that the common theme here seems to be love. So Antonia, how do you and your book depict the idea of love?
Well, I sincerely believe that we all live love stories from the moment of our birth. What I mean by that is we are born into a family. That's a love story, a type of love story. Now, it's not a romance, of course, but it is a type of love story. And friendships can be possibly the most profound love stories that we have. And that's what I really try to depict in the book, is the idea that you can have someone you deeply love and support and stand behind, and that is your love story. It's not a romance, but that is your love story.
I love it. Do you agree with that?
I agree totally. Yes, I just am mesmerized sitting listening to you ladies. It's so good to meet people who are the same as you, like your tribe, and that for me is such a joy, because I live alone now, and sometimes these thoughts go round and round in your head. So to actually hear someone else articulate them is wonderful. So thank you, ladies. Kim, your book is not romance, but it's in a kind of a different genre. Can you tell us a bit more about love from your book's perspectives?
In the Grace Found Me and Hope Found Me books, I think there's a lot of faith in there. And with faith comes belief, and I believe with that comes love. I don't think they can all coexist without one another, faith, belief, and love. And that is definitely noticed and woven through every story, even though they're so different, from completely different people, different backgrounds, from all over the world. Even with Paw Prints on the Couch, my most recent book, there is a tremendous amount of love in each story for these animals that these people cared for and brought into their lives. Oh my goodness. Brings tears to your eyes. I get teary-eyed just thinking about some of the stories, and the stories of my own animals that I shared in the book. But there's just love woven in. And that's, to me, love is that nugget of hope. Now, I know you had mentioned, Antonia, that loneliness sparked your your writing.
Mhm.
There was a nugget of hope that came from somewhere to get you to do that,
Oh, of course, yes.
and it's just, there's nuggets of hope if we keep our eyes open, and with hope comes love. I believe that with hope comes love, and it's there. Don't pay attention to the media, what they're trying to shove in your face. Look within your own realm, within your own sphere. I say it my realm. I always say I'm the queen of my realm, and that's the way it is. I'm in control here in my own little bubble, because it seems as if the rest of the world is completely out of control. And it feels like sometimes, I don't know how you ladies feel, but doesn't it feel like sometimes the world, and I'm just going to say it that way, is trying to snuff out goodness and love?
Yes.
And I'm not going to let that happen. Not in my neck of the woods, not in my slice of the world. It will not be snuffed out. Goodness and love will prevail. Period.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I always say that what is the point of us being here on this earth if it's not to help other people and love? Are we just here to make money and die, and be selfish? Love is all that matters. At the end of the day, love is all that counts, I think. So it's wonderful that you ladies write about it. I think that's just perfect. Next, we want to talk about characters. Antonia, you first.
Yes.
How do you create your characters?
Well, honestly, as we were talking about a moment ago, you write from experience. So Kate is very much me. There are quite a bit of elements in her character that is just a mirror image of myself. Kyle, on the other hand, is a character that I've never met a Kyle. I would love to meet a Kyle. He's just a very genuine, wonderful man. But let me say this, all of my characters are flawed because we're flawed. We're flawed human beings. But there's a beauty in that flaw. And we can grow and learn from the flaws. And so even though they're both flawed characters, they're very genuine, they're very authentic, and very relatable. And that's what at least I've heard from all my readers and fans about these particular characters. They are in the entertainment industry. I do have a background in the entertainment industry. My father was a comedian and an actor. My mother was a big band singer. So I've lived in that realm, so to speak, since I was a baby. I've been around it all my life. My mother put me in front of a camera when I was 9 years old and said, okay, now you're going to be an actress. And so I did that. But what's really fascinating about my characters, I think, is I just had someone call me yesterday and said, you wrote that book so I'd fall in love with Kate, didn't you? And it's like, well, not intentionally, but I'm glad you feel that way because that's just the kind of characters they are. They're the kind of people you would like to go out and have a dinner with or get to know, become friends with.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
and also, Antonia, I love that you say that love doesn't need to be only the romantic love.
Right. And that's when people say, oh, I have a love story, immediately they go to romance. And it's like, well, that might not be true. A parent with a newborn baby, that is a beautiful love story. That experience of having this little life, this beautiful child in your arms, you fall in love with that baby instantly. And that is, I think that's important to understand that we have love all around us and to appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yes. Totally agree. Thank you. And Kim, your book is nonfiction, as you were telling us. So would you use a different process for planning and writing that than you would, for example, have done for a fiction story?
I'm not much of a plotter or planner. I'm more of a pantser. I go by the seat of my pants. Now there's definitely, and I am working on a fiction book, and I have been for quite some time, because those little characters, they peek their heads out every once in a while and start whispering to me, telling me I need to get writing more on it. That book, I do have planned out just a little, I mean, very in general, but I typically just kind of go with where my head and my heart's leading me, you know, how it should go, how should quotes be added, because like, you know, mine's nonfiction, the books I have currently are nonfiction, so should I add quotes, and should I add personal quotes or famous quotes, or should it be laid out this way? All of that stuff actually stresses me out. I like just writing the stories, reading the stories, editing them. And, you know, if you could magically all just be done and get it out into the world and say, ta-da, here we are. Now people read them and feel better, darn it. If we could do that, I would. But yeah, I'm more of a kind of just go by the seat of my pants type of person. Plotting and or having a whiteboard or anything like that, it stresses me out to have. I do in a way, in my own way, but I don't do it in a regimented, disciplined way. I guess we'll put it that way.
And you prefer to write, what do you prefer to write, fiction or nonfiction?
I actually prefer nonfiction. At this time in my life, that's where I gravitate towards.
Mm.
And I feel like I can put more into it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who's to say a year from now it's completely changed because I have characters in my head that won't leave me alone? You know, who's to say? But at this time, I gravitate towards nonfiction. And like I said, I love to meet new people and hear their stories. And if they want to share them and get them out in the world, I want to be able to help them do that.
Wonderful. Give me your number. We have a lot. Now, about your creative process, Antonia, when you start writing a new book, do you begin with characters, plot, or title?
Oh, that's a good one. A title actually for me came last, and I'll explain that real briefly in a minute. I having been an actress, I lived and breathed movie scripts and TV scripts and things like that. So dialogue became the driving force for me. To me, that's where the story is told in fiction, is in the dialogue. So I always have the beginning, I always have the end, and then the dialogue is what links those two pieces together. And then what I do is, and this is kind of an odd way to write, I kind of close my eyes and I replay it in my mind, all this dialogue, and then I write what I'm seeing as the action, picking up the glass, having a sip of water, or whatever it may be. Then I'll add that. To me, that's the window dressing. But the dialogue is really the meat and potatoes of the whole storyline. And that's how I write. Now, as far as the title is concerned, boy, I struggle, because when I originally wrote Back to One, I wrote it in 1994. It took me 1 year to write the book. That's all, just a year. But it took me 25 years to find a publisher, because I did not want to self-publish. I wanted a publisher. I needed that impartial third eye to look at this and say, yeah, this is really good. Let's put it out in the world, or I don't think you should do that. So I wanted that impartiality. And I found, once again, during COVID, that's when I found my publisher. And so he didn't like my original title, which was Best Friends. He said, that's really kind of lame. It's been overused. Let's find something a little bit that has a little bit more substance to it, that really tells what the book is about. So my two main characters are actors. And I came up with the title Back to One, because that is what the first assistant director will say to the cast, the crew, the cameraman, to get them back into first position. You know, if they want to shoot a scene again, he'll yell out Back to One. And so I thought that was the perfect title. The second book, Ambient Light, is a form of lighting in the movie industry. And the third book, Cinema Verite, was actually a 1960s documentary style of filming that the French created that was very real, very gritty, no personal input at all. It was what you saw. and it was also very dull, which is why it isn't around anymore. So anyway, so all my titles are movie industry terms.
Very
Yeah.
creative.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's fascinating, and I think the way you describe it, and the cover of your books just makes me want to read them. So now they have to go on my to be read pile, because I think knowing that someone has a background in the subject they're writing about makes it much more interesting than
Yes.
somebody who just plucked an idea from nowhere and written about it and probably hasn't researched it very well. So thank you, Antonia. That's great. We wanted to ask you a similar question about how your writing process goes for nonfiction, but obviously you've already covered it slightly in your last answer. So maybe you can reiterate about that a bit more. But I just wanted to make one comment when you said about how you don't like to really kind of plan, you like to just, and the old writers like Shakespeare and Dickens were much luckier in a way than we because they had no massive great school of thought telling them how they should write, how their punctuation should be, whether they should do this, whether they should talk in the first person or the second. They didn't have any of those strictures, and I think it's made our job harder because all the time we want to write as it comes out of our head, but we stop and we think, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that, maybe I should put some dialogue in, or maybe I should do this. And I mean, maybe I'm talking through the top of my head, but anyway, those are my thoughts. Over to you, Kim.
I agree, because just let it come out. That's for me, and I do that because I have so many stories, and I love writing short stories that come into my head about maybe things that I've been through or someone else that I know has been through. I have so many of them that are written and kept in this special little file, brilliant ideas. It's the name of the file, actually, brilliant ideas. Whether they're brilliant or not, I don't know. But that's what I called them, said it with conviction, so maybe I would believe it. But, I write those stories and I sit down and I write and I just let it come out. I just let it get out. And then I let it sit. Let it simmer for a bit. And I do think that especially, and I've talked to quite a few younger, newer writers that are just starting their journey, and they don't even have to be younger. They're just starting their writing journey, and they are overwhelmed by all of the platforms that they should probably use, or, should I format while I do this? And what kind of editor do I get? And do I edit as I go? And, should I only write a page? And, they get stuck in all the technicalities of it. Did I end my sentence in a preposition? Who cares? Just write it and get it out. Just write it and get it out. All of that stuff can be taken care of at the end. If you let all that stuff stress you out from the first word, you're never going to get your book written.
It happened to me. I downloaded an app where they help us with the characters. You can organize everything there, but for me, I have ADHD, so I said, no, this is going to make me feel even more confused. I prefer to get my pencil and a piece of paper and organize myself there. So I gave up because this is not for me. Maybe for some other people it can work, but not for me. So thank you, Kim. And let's talk about goals and aspirations. So Pat, do you want to start?
Yes, I would love to. Antonia, can you tell us your future plans? Have you got any more books in the pipeline? Oh, you have, because you're continuing the series.
Yes.
Could you tell us?
Okay. As I said, book number 4 comes out around April of next year. I think it's going to be April 30th of next year. And it's going to be, once again, it's part of the series. It's going to be totally different from these other 3 books. This has kind of built the relationship of Kate and Kyle to a certain level. And what it's going to do is it's going to answer that wonderful question that we all have in our life when we meet somebody special, or we can even say it to other family members. What if we'd known each other when we were teenagers? Or what if we had known each other when we were in college? And that's what that book answers, is what if? Because if you think about it, if my 2 main characters, Kate and Kyle, are meeting at the ages of 34 and 40, respectively, and they turn around and meet at 18 and 24. That's different people. I mean, almost completely different people. Would you have the same goals? Would you have the same temperament? Would you have the same understanding of relationships and love and friendship? It would be totally different. So that's what that book is. It's a really fun book. I'm very excited about that. And then the 5th and the 6th will come after that, about a year apart after that. So yeah, I've got a future for Kate and Kyle.
So
I
many
think
things.
that's, sorry, Lucia, after you.
Well, I'm like, I feel that's so amazing when we just keep having plans and writing. This is what moves us.
Yes.
Yep.
So
And I was just going to say, I love the concept of your next book, because we ourselves can think back to people we knew when we were young, and we might have this rosy image of how it would have turned out, and it probably wouldn't. I mean, I've had 2 marriages and I've lived with 2 men, so 4 men in my adult life. None of them have worked. But if I'd met different ones at different periods in my life, it may well have worked, because they were all, you know, they were all men I was attracted to, but I just met them at the wrong time, I think, when I wasn't ready, or they weren't ready, or somebody wasn't ready. But maybe I'm just looking through rosy spectacles, who knows. Thank you, Antonia, that's great. And Lucia, I think you're probably going to ask Kim the last question, which is a bit sad.
yes, yeah. So Kim, what's next for you? More anthologies, more rescues. Tell us, please, what are your plans for the future?
I do have some things in the works, and next year, middle of next year, I will have a book that's just solely my own, and it's going to be nonfiction. That's going to be called Nuggets of Hope, and that's sharing stories of my experiences of personally giving nuggets of hope to people that I meet out in public randomly. They're not people I know. They're people I feel very strongly nudged towards to approach and literally give a nugget of hope, which is a polished stone that has the word hope on it. And that's something that I felt very strongly about doing the last couple years. I felt very strongly nudged to begin that, because the word hope was everywhere and I knew I was supposed to do something with it. And after I stopped thinking about it too much, putting too much effort into thinking, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? I realized I'm just supposed to be myself and offer someone a nugget of hope. And so that's what the book is going to be. My experiences, why I started that, and what it's done for me personally. And it's kind of, it's not a self-help thing, but I feel like it's an inspirational, motivational type thing, because we can all, no matter what spot in life we personally are in, no matter what spot you're in, there's still a little bit that you can give someone else, to be that nugget of hope for someone else, because you're not only helping them, you will be amazed at how much you're helping yourself, at how that can shift maybe your heart that might be hardened a little bit, or your thought process that is just negative might turn it around to be positive. You just don't know. So that's one thing that it's pretty much finished. I'd say it's 95% done, being written. So that's next year, middle next year, mid to late summer, I'm hoping. And I've had numerous people since Paw Prints on the Couch came out 2 months ago. I've had numerous people message me and say, are you doing another one? Because I have a couple stories about my dog, or I have a story about my cat, or I have a story about my gerbil. And I'm like, I'm going to see. I'll see. I'm waiting. I wait to see if I feel like I'm supposed to. I don't just jump in to say, just so I can say I'm writing another book. I have to feel it. That's what I'm always telling people. I have to feel it come on me, And for those who know me, they're like, okay, there goes crazy Kim doing that feeling thing again. But that's how I've done everything. It's my feeling and my faith has guided me. And so I wait on that to give me that little nudge. So Might be another paw prints on the couch, but it's probably going to be called Paw Prints on the Kitchen Floor as the title, because that's what's stuck in my head and has been stuck in my head even before this book was done. And yeah, Nuggets of Hope coming out next summer. So, and I'm sure, you know, there's always something, and I'm sure all three of you ladies have the same thing happen to you. You're rolling along, you got your things planned out, you got your goals, and then all of a sudden something else comes and you're like, oh, you know, like shiny object syndrome, you know, like squirrel. Oh, there's another idea. Oh, got to look at that one a little closer. You know, so who knows what's coming up? Who knows what else might come up?
This panel, I feel so motivated after I talk with you, because, for example, I know Antonia for many years now, and she comes and she is always so motivated, and I really love interviewing Antonia. And Kim, it's the same with you. It was such a pleasure to have you here, and I hope we can repeat next year.
It's been such a joy talking to you ladies. Thank you so much for joining us. So I'll just leave it to our lovely host, Lucia, to close it for us. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Antonia and Kim. We'll have all information available on wordauthors.org, also on our website, www.relatable-media.com. And thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.